It's Kentucky Derby Day. Let's take a look through some of the picks, not only in the Derby, but also on the undercard.
Trust the Profits is proud to be sponsored by Game of Silks. Go to silks.io to get in the game. Real ownership, real races, real rewards.
SureBetCoffee.
Thanks for joining in, everybody. At the end of this video, we will provide you how to bet $100 on the Kentucky Derby, but I figured so much attention's been focused on the Kentucky Derby. Let's take a look through some of the earlier races in the day as we use Race Lens to take a look at some angles that I have found. And also don't forget about SureBetCoffee, who's sponsoring this video. Go to SureBetCoffee.com, use the promo code TTP20 this week, and you'll get 20% off their ground coffee. I can't recommend it enough. Helps me get through these past performances on a day like Kentucky Derby Day. You absolutely are going to need that coffee as races start at 10:30 in the morning. If you live out on the West Coast, I mean, waking up to racing at 7:30, what a feeling that must be. And I'm so ingrained in having the Derby around 7 o'clock. You guys are still going to have your nighttime out there on the West Coast. Something that I've always struggled to fathom, the time differences of waking up and having horse racing at 7:30 in the morning. But I digress, but you will need your coffee. Check out SureBetCoffee to get you through. We're going to start off with race 1 on Kentucky Derby Day as we look at the Echobase platform, which gives you a pretty good, easy snapshot. And in race 1, you've got a number 2 here out of the Brad Cox barn, a first-time starter. This horse is sired by Constitution. Set at the 5-2 morning line. Constitution comes in with, over the past 5 years on dirt sprints, 16% win percentage. This horse obviously going to take some attention. And you have another horse here, number 7, who comes out of the Wesley Ward barn. I think this is the 2 horses that are going to take the money. Wesley Ward moving turf to dirt is an angle you want to pay attention to. And adding blinkers, 5 for 10 with a plus 75 ROI. Of course, when you're talking Wesley Ward, you're going to have a high winning percentage anyways. I think the number 1 is another interesting horse here. Check out the horses he lost to, Just a Touch and Mystic Dan. Of course, we're going to see some of them later in the big race for Kentucky Derby Saturday. Hard to get by that number 7 out of the Wesley Ward barn in race 1. Another thing to mention is I own in the Game of Silks number 4, Manfredi. This was a horse I picked up on the secondary market. I picked him up because I saw they had been running him longer, mile and a 16th. He'd shown some early speed, and I was hoping that with a cutback in distance, maybe this horse could use that early speed to get to the finish line. He was scratched on April 5th. He ran a mile on March 7th, finished 7th, was beaten pretty bad. He's been beaten pretty bad in most of his races. Maybe the cut back to 6.5 furlongs here, and it's a maiden special weight for 120,000. So he's probably in over his head, but from a Game of Silks standpoint, that's absolutely a nice purse of 1.1% to take home in that race. So I'm personally cheering for Manfredi to take down the Cox and Wesley Ward horses. Let's take a look at race 2. You have a lot of this field that's been running actually on the turf, but they're running this one on the dirt. I thought that the early pick 5 was extremely competitive, but here I found one horse with a win probability of 26%, Scylla. Okay, and I think this might be your best shot if you're going to try and single someone on an early pick 5. Number 6, Scylla out of the Bill Mott barn with jockey Javier Castellano aboard. This horse is sired by Tappet. He has the highest figures in the race, including this last race, which was in a grade 3, in which Raging Sea was victorious. You had Raising Sea, Hidden Connection, Love to at a 92 Echobase speed figure. It was a pretty competitive bunch. And really, in this race here, you don't have many that have had that experience. There's a lot of he has a high closing speed, and I think that you have a lot of pace in this race. What you can do on Race Lens here is go under True Odds, and they have a easily sortable late pace. You can see Scylla with the 105. If you go by run style, you're going to see the red, which gives you 5 horses right up on the front. I also thought that it was interesting that Irad is returning for a new trainer on number 10. I think that that might be a horse to take a look at. His name is, I believe, Motorious. Secret Statement, sorry, I think the 11. Victorious was the other one I was interested in, which is out of the Michael McCarthy barn. On number 10, I thought it was interesting. They've been trying to find a spot for him. Was scratched with a couple also eligibles, and then the trainer scratched him on April 11th over at Keeneland. So an intriguing race there. I think number 6, Scylla, might be your shot at getting through if you need to get a single somewhere in this early. Pick 5. We'll skip over to race 3. This is a really tough race. Look at number 11, Mindframe. This is out of the Todd Pletcher barn. Irad Ortiz rode this horse last time and put up the highest Echobase speed figure with a 108. That's what's circled in blue means for me. You can customize your past performances however you want. It'll highlight high winning percentages, so you don't really have to do a lot of work. And Mindframe was a horse who won by 13 3/4 lengths in the opening. Pretty impressive. I think it's also important to note that the number 9, Invigorated, was ridden by Irad in his maiden victory last time out. So Irad chooses the 11, probably gives you a little hint of who he thinks might be better. Number 7 is trained by Dallas Stewart. I always talk about the angle of looking out for Dallas Stewart on big days. Obviously, Saturday is the biggest of them all, and he comes in with horses with prices that are ready to run. Be Dancer is a morning line 12-1, comes out of a key race at Fairgrounds on February 17th. That key race, of course, was the Risen Star with Sierra Leone Track Phantom catching Freedom. Came back and ran in an allowance race on March 24th. Finishing 4th, 6 lengths behind. Nobody came back in that race to win. But I think that the angle of Dallas Stewart on these big days is something to take note of. We'll move along to race number 4. This is for Kentucky Derby. Saturday, going through some of the early races here on Trust the Profits. Race number 4, 1 was the class. Absolutely strong quality, and there is a lot of early speed signed on as you start going through these past performances. This was a tricky race. Strong quality, finished 5th in the grade 2 at Fairgrounds last out, but as you started to go through the field, 4 is going to go, 5 is going to go, 6 is going to go out of the Brad Cox barn with Flavian Proud aboard. Number 7 is the one that has certainly shown some early speed, but I actually think that this horse has the best closing speed. So if you go to True Odds and take a look at that same late pace number that I had shown you, number 7, Capuna, with a 117.5 late pace number. This Echobase gives you what fair odds would be. True Odds, 2-1 off a 4-1 morning line on that 1 strong quality. I'll try to get by with the number 1 and the number 7 here in race 4. Let's move along to race number 5. This was definitely a spread race for me. I wasn't interested in the 1, Candyman Rocket, who's actually trying the turf, but I felt like you could go so many different ways here in this race as I pull up my notes. I ended up on the 3, Capola, someone I work with. That angle always comes through. The 4, Motorious. That's where Motorious was showing up here on the turf. Number 8, you get Charles Appleby, Mischief Magic. This was a horse that I loved in the Shakertown, and I was told by my good friend Vinny on Doubling Down he didn't bring over William Buick. He had Tyler Gaffleone aboard, so perhaps that's an angle not to bet him. He was right that day. I was not. But Mischief Magic is just absolutely one of my favorite horses, so I'll be including him. Mr. Great name, sired by Speister. Obviously, going to get some speed in there. 3, 4, 8, 11, and 12. Like I said, I thought you could go a variety of ways here in race number 5. It's a closeout leg, so if you can get through with a couple of those singles such as Scylla and maybe going short in race 4, even the win percentage here on Race Lens is very close between the 10, 7, 8, so they see it differently as well. Very, very difficult race on number 5. Now, race 6, I want to point something out to you here, and this may be known, but look at number 7, Alvastar. The dam here is sitting at the bar. Now, this horse has rolled off 4 out of 5 wins in the last 5 races, but you can very easily on Racelens take a look at the dam's performances. Sitting at the bar, 56 starts, 20 wins, 45 in the money, 36% winning, and a plus 34 ROI. This is absolutely a dam who's just had so much success, including with this horse, Alvastar. Now, Alvastar comes into this race against a pretty competitive field, most notably your number 10, Vava, who's trained by Sherry DeVoe, finished second in a grade 1 at Keeneland behind Alvastar. And it was Alvastar, Vava, and Red Carpet Ready. All 3 of those horses come back here in this race for race 6. I think you could go with any of those 3, but I definitely have my eye on Alvastar every time she runs, just strictly because of what I've seen with sitting at the bar horses. The win percentage has Vava on top with 19%, and actually 3 witches, Alvastar and Red Carpet Ready, coming back from that race at Keeneland. Race 7. I have one more to show you, which is race 7. I want to show you this angle here with Chad Brown horses, and you can see it shows up on the 3 Chads here in race 7. And this is an angle that I created, and it has absolutely come back with a huge number, and that is Chad Browns with 4-year-olds and up, having a career best figure in their last start running back on the turf. There's not a whole huge number, right? 32 starts over 2 years isn't a ton, but the win percentage is consistently, no matter where you go. The last 6 months, it's 50% win percentage with a 656 positive ROI. The last month, 1,200, and that was only 2 races. So I know that the sample is small, but even if we go 5 years, 101 starts, 23% win percentage, and a positive ROI. Chad Brown comes into this race with 3 horses that meet that angle that you can very quickly see on the overall page. That is the 3 Chili Flag, the 6 Delahaye, and the 11 Copice. All 3 of those fit this exact same angle, with Chad Brown bringing them back on the turf after their highest speed figure. We take a look at the Kentucky Derby. I know that that's the race that you've all probably tuned in here, and I want to provide for you what I would bet for the Kentucky Derby. I am all about Fierceness. Fierceness, to me, is the fastest horse. I know there's some question marks around him. I'm all in on Fierceness. Fierceness is my pick for the Kentucky Derby. And if I'm going to bet it, I'm going to try a $1 try key with Fierceness on top of a few other horses who I certainly think are interesting. Part of that is the number 6. This horse, Just Steel, out of Coach Dwayne Lucas's barn, always tends to show up. 2 back, if you cross that race out at Oaklawn when he was 5 wide on both turns, it's a second, a second, a second, a first, and a third. I think he has a pretty good shot of getting into the mix in the try. Number 7, Honor Marie. He's kind of a horse we've talked about on this channel with the jockey Ben Curtis, who absolutely knows how to deal with the big fields. Honor Marie will be coming from off the pace, and we've talked about the pace being pretty hot in the Kentucky Derby just in general. You've got Track Phantom, T.O. Password, Doorknock on the inside, Epic Ride. A lot of horses I think are going to push that pace a little bit. And obviously, just being the Kentucky Derby, horses don't want to get too shuffled behind either. We'll use the 8 Just a Touch. Little bit of a feeling out of Mage with this horse. Lightly raced, didn't race as a 2-year-old, but has a 105 speed figure in the Toyota Bluegrass, a race where he pressed the lead and was able to hang on for second. That was a very fast race there in the Bluegrass, and it was impressive to me that Just a Touch was able to hold on. Hopefully it didn't take too much out of him and will allow him to hang on for that try. Forever Young is a horse coming over from Japan, 5 for 5. Absolutely want him on my ticket. I'm going to take a shot with Endlessly, the number 14 here underneath. I think Endlessly is a very talented horse. I know everyone's saying, yes, it's turf and synthetic. Well, I'm going to be a little contrarian. If he gets a little bit of that talent over to the dirt, could absolutely be in the mix. It's the Kentucky Derby. Why not? Jessica's talked about Resilience. I'm a fan of Resilience as well. The Wood Memorial winner, I think, can absolutely get up to get a little bit of a piece. We'll come back with that strong angle or my opinion on those horses and do an exacta box: 7, 8, 11, 14, 17, 19. $1 will cost you 30. You can do the 50-cent try key. That'll only cost you 15. It'll keep you around $30 to $60, or you can up these if you want to spend a little bit more. I hope all the horses and jockeys have a safe trip on Saturday at Churchill Downs. We'll be live here on Trust the Profits for the later half of the card with the stakes races. That's why I focused on the early one, because I can't be live the entire day with some kids. Good luck to all of you out there. If you've got any horses in the early pick 5, early 6 or 7 races that you like, please drop it in the comments. And until next time, I'm Colin Sheehan. Good luck, everybody.